Welcome back, everyone. It is the culminating match of tonight's Modern Super League. Javier Dominguez and Nathan Steuer, two of the very best players in the world, are playing for the last unclaimed slot in the top four. Javier mulligan to 6. He's the burn player. So on the draw, starting with 6. But the good news for Javier fans is that Nathan did not have the turn 1 scammed elemental.
I have to say this is like pretty awkward hands for both of the players, right? Javier with just the one lander and then bolting Ragavan on the draw rather, instead of deploying a turn 1 Goblin Guide. So that's always a little bit awkward when you begin the game defending as a burn player. But at the same time, Nathan's hand had the Ragavan to put up pressure, but doesn't have too much to back the Ragavan with, just the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and that could be dealt swiftly with the Searing Blaze if Javier ever manages to draw a land. So
Yeah, did you think Nathan's Thoughtseize was up for debate there? He did take Goblin Guide. As you mentioned, the Searing Blaze could be a problem in the long term.
yeah, the Goblin Guide is going to be a problem. Searing Blaze is going to be a problem. It does make sense to take the Goblin Guide, and then you're super rewarded. Like, you're rewarded a lot if Javier misses on the land, but here it goes. Searing Blaze is ready to take down the Goblin Shaman. Not the end of the world for Nathan, though. Still looting 2 lands here, or the Feign Death is going to be a pretty useful effect.
Yeah, the Fable is just exactly what he needs, and of course, the Fable is a big reason why Nathan justified keeping this hand. But with Javier being forced to kind of play reactively and burn creatures, the Fable is at least a 2-for-1, but really going to be more like a 4-for-1, getting Nathan to cycle away 2 lands into 2 action cards. And
It's
then
certainly an interesting way to frame that, but at the same time, Nathan's life total has already fallen down to 12, so I don't know if this game is gonna entirely be about cards advantage economy.
Yeah, it's true. So I guess it was easy for Javier to burn the Goblin Shaman because it happened to be Searing Blaze. If you think that if that Searing Blaze was just a lightning bolt, you think he's letting the Goblin token live?
Probably, I have to imagine. It's a tougher decision then, of course. You have to do some calculations on the fly, but the interesting part of this situation was that Thoughtseize has revealed the sitting place, and Nathan has decided not to take it. That said, now we see Nathan at already like just mere 5 life against Javier still at 18. So there's gonna be a lot of damage needs to be dealt to Javier to finish this game, and Javier just needs to draw a single lightning bolt effect to get the job done.
Is there anything that can be done with the Dothi Voidwalker with Feign Death?
Well, not at this point, but let's see.
Not at this point, no.
Was there maybe Lightning Helix in Javier's deck? I don't think so. No Lightning Helix is to gain life from Dothi Voidwalker, so unfortunately that is not an option.
Yeah, well, that is Javier in quick and decisive burn fashion, taking down game number 1. I guess it was just a slow draw for Scam. You told us at the start of the match that it was going to be largely about what turn 1 looks like for the Rakdos player.
Yeah. And Nathan's turn 1 wasn't bad. Like, it was still a Ragavan, which is of course an excellent card, and burn, for like being a deck that is entirely composed of burn spells, doesn't actually have that many ways to deal with a turn 1 Ragavan funnily on the draw. But Javier managed to have a lightning bolt ready for the Ragavan, and then that just stopped Nathan's clock so hard that the race wasn't particularly close in the end.
Boy, it looks like this might even get better for Javier after sideboarding, with the key card being Sanctifier Envec, but he's also sprinkling in Path to Exile, Ensnaring Bridge, Exquisite
Yeah.
Firecraft.
A setting bridge, pretty fun option. Just letting you turtle up and hide behind your bridge while you burn Nathan out. Ooh, and this is interesting because Nathan is gonna be really tempted to just keep this turn 1 Fury and fire it off. Just have a effectively an 8 power creature on turn 1, but Path to Exile, or even just turn 2 Sanctified on Veg, effectively deal with the Fury and prevent it
It's
from dealing any more damage. So
it's so funny. The turn one Fury would have been like outrageously strong in game number one. But
mhm.
here, as you mentioned, it's going to do nothing. Javier has multiple different sideboarded in options that just totally neutralize the Fury.
Yeah, certainly. Game 2, you are much more happy to see. You are even more happy to see the double turn 1 Grief rather than the double turn 1 Fury against Burn. Clears
While
away
we were
from.
watching these early turns play out, I want to thank everyone who's participated in our giveaways so far. If you won the most recent giveaway before we went to commercial, be sure to direct message anzidmtg, and he will get you everything you need to collect your prize.
There's a great point, Reed. We see a Thoughtseize drawn by Nathan. A pretty nice draw. Can get rid of the Sanctifier on Vec, which is like the biggest obstacle for the Fury and for any future card that Nathan is going to ever play. Still, the path is probably gonna deal with it, so the Fury is not gonna be winning this game.
Yeah, well, it is good. This has to be one of the best draws for Nathan on this particular turn because it's the only way he can deal with Sanctifier and Vec. Once that enters the battlefield, it's invulnerable in this matchup, right?
Yeah, really makes you wonder. Like maybe there should be more Sanctifier on Vex in the modern format, right? That card is certainly a very effective tool against the entirety of the red black scam deck.
Yeah, it's such a good card. Even before Scam was the top deck in the format, I was really always really impressed with Sanctifier. Um, yeah, the modern Super League is running an interesting format, and for this week, we knew we were playing only one match against one particular opponent. Um,
Mhm.
but I was looking at kind of the top 8 bracket, and like a lot of the players used Rakdos Scam to get here, and it's just such a prolific, effective deck. I was thinking like, what if I just built a hate deck? Just main deck Sanctifier and Vec and all these cards. Like, could that be a worthwhile strategy for modern right now? It's interesting to think about, at least.
Do you mean like in the Super League or just in general or in challenges or leagues?
Well, more likely, it would be for a format in a known metagame like the Super League.
Mhm.
Um, we're probably not quite to that point where it's worth targeting a single deck in modern, but it's almost there. You're seeing 3-4 copies of Rakdos in the top 8 of every major event these days.
I see, yeah. That said, I have to say this game is shaping in a way that does not look good for Nathan. 10 life, Path to Exile is going to be cast on the Fury and Nathan's upkeep, I have to assume, I have to guess. I guess draw step is better, or like just anytime after draw step is better, but 8 points of burn ready in Javier's hand.
Yeah, so effectively, if Javier has enough time to cast the spells in his hand, he will win the
Mhm.
game. Now, Croxa is an interesting draw uh, because with the Path to Exile getting cast, Nathan is a lot closer to escaping Croxa. So, as a long term plan, that's something, but really just doesn't look like he's going to have enough time here.
Yeah. Crux are sneakily pretty solid, but I don't think it adds up by itself. There's gonna be like you need something else. The Orcish Bowmaster is probably going to shoot the Goblin Guide and try to trade with it with the army token. That still leaves Nathan at 6 life against a Boros Charm in hand, and as we see, Javier doesn't even attack with the Goblin Guide, as you know, a Rakdos player passing with 2 mana. You could guess that something here is fishy.
I was wondering if Javier would make that play. I think it's a tough play to make. You know, you sleeve up burn. You think you're attacking with your Goblin Guides, but it does turn out really, really sharp based on the exact cards that Nathan has here.
Yeah, nice move.
Good question in the chat. Why would Exquisite Firecraft be boarded in? I think Javier expected that the games would go long, they would come down to top decks, and he just wanted more firepower. I think he preferred Exquisite Firecraft compared to a lower impact card, or maybe something like Roiling Vortex.
Yeah, it does seem pretty consistent with wanting to have strong top decks. You cut your Rolling Vortexes, which are pretty bad to draw off the top of your deck late in the game, and you put the 4 damage burn spell that is actually pretty good. So sounds like a pretty sound strategy.
So the question becomes, can Javier find 2 points of burn before Nathan can find a way to kill him? It's difficult for Nathan to attack, because of course you need to leave blockers for the Goblin Guide. The Fury is still a few turns away from being relevant here. He can make Kroxa, but boy, it does not seem like you want to shock yourself here.
Yeah. You can't. That's too much. So Javier casting the Boros Charm, and will he draw a burn spell right now? Let's go. Skewer the critics. Well, yeah, that works.
So, folks, that is Javier Dominguez in 2 very fast games, advancing over Nathan Steuer. So we have our top 4